Hey guys, some gamer dude here. I've been doing this channel for a while now, and I've been interested in cards as long as I can remember. While Pokemon's base set was the first time I touched TCGs, I collected trading cards before that. Nothing serious, just some comics, movies, cartoons, and a hell of a lot of NBA. While I'm not a big sport guy now, Flair 1994 to 1995 holds a lot of nostalgia for me. NBA was a big deal back then, and I really liked the aesthetics of that particular set. I still have all my old cards somewhere. I can't even remember what my first trading card was, I was so young. Over all these years, I have more than a few regrets. Some pertaining to this channel, some regarding things I didn't do, or regarding cards in some way. So I want to talk about regrets relevant to this channel today. I'll get the main channel one out of the way first, because I really thought it'd be much harder than it was. I regret not learning how to use Audacity correctly years ago. I've only fiddled with the settings as I didn't understand what I was doing, but I knew it wasn't as good as it could be. I kept fiddling, but only with the components I understood. I mostly just recorded at a lower volume and stayed away from the mic in an attempt to not pick up much breathing. It made editing videos very time consuming, as I was combing through them manually to cut out breathing and dead sound. After a comment from a channel regular, I decided to get off my duff and learn. The last few videos have been a bit of a test, learning the settings and whatnot. But it wasn't hard. Just some really basic stuff. Some of it would have helped me anyway. Noise reduction alone would have sped up the process. I feel like an absolute dope for not learning to do it earlier. I guess that I was a bit scared that it'd be more time intensive than it actually was. Nevertheless, I hope my videos are a bit better now. I also want to call attention to my inflection, as people have brought it up before. I did a bit of public speaking as a kid. I was taught to take deep breaths and make sure people could hear me. I think I also take note of how upbeat most YouTubers are and try to emulate that. I guess this can sound unnatural, but my normal speaking voice, which I'm trying to record this in, isn't the easiest to hear. At least that's what I've been told. That said, I'm trying to sound more natural in my videos. I think this is partially channel related, partially card related, so it's a good segue into talking about cards. I regret letting other people influence my opinions. Any old goober can have a YouTube channel. I have one, don't I? It's not a hard or complex thing to do, and just because you have one doesn't make you an authority on anything. Neither does a blog for that matter. This is inclusive of myself too. I make mistakes, have my own taste, so I'm still learning all that stuff. I get a bit irritated by people who parrot YouTubers as if their word is gospel. They take other people's opinions and make them their own. Recently though, I've noticed I've been doing just that with people I know privately. Taking on their attitudes and opinions, not being myself. I'm not going to go into too many details, but most notably I feel both my opinions on Magic the Gathering video and both my Final Fantasy reviews were influenced by other people. I know there are other videos like this too. I noticed this when I was taken to task on my Magic video. So I watched it and I was a little shocked by how much of it wasn't how I feel. In particular, the passionate hate of Planeswalkers and saying I was apathetic towards Magic the Gathering. I wouldn't buy it if I was apathetic. The images I have up now are my most recent purchases, back in July. I quite enjoy Magic, though I enjoy it more on a cerebral level rather than a visceral one. I have a personal ranking system I've only shared with a few other people. Magic is in the top bracket. That is an apathy. Likewise, there are a few Planeswalkers I do like. Sorin and Arlen Cord in particular. I actually have Planeswalkers in a few decks. The two I've mentioned are Ajani and Jace. I can't dislike them too much if I'm using them, and am looking to make decks with Sarkhan and Nissa. It's not that I wasn't being honest in that video. I do believe they are a design that misses their mark. Furthermore, I believe Wizards hit the mark a decade prior. I'm just not as passionate about it as I made out I was in that video. Going over to Final Fantasy, both times I played it for reviews I was with someone who was a complete downer on basically everything. I'm not going to bag on this person more than that, it's not fair, but being around them was bringing me down really hard. He was also my main playtester for reviews and my own work. I haven't talked to him since April because it became too frustrating. First time, he didn't even want to give Final Fantasy a shot, despite coming with me to the game store. So I went into a tournament with no prior time to feel out the game. This didn't set a good impression, and I felt bad the entire day. I felt bad that he came with me and was just sitting there doing nothing. That set a tone. The second time I got him to give it a shot, I could tell he wasn't interested. I believe the review was influenced by his negativity and opinions. I say that because I recently tried it for a third time with a different friend. The current Final Fantasy VII Cloud vs Sephiroth set, and I really enjoyed it. This friend is a lot more open to it, and because of the lack of negativity, I think the game could shine a lot better. Maybe this set of decks was better, I'm not sure. I didn't feel the set was significantly better for play purposes outside of the Sephiroth deck having 6 Sephiroth cards to fuel S abilities. But some things I mentioned in the review, the slowness and the CP system being irritating, were non-issues that I now feel was influenced. If anything, I like not having a damage accelerant, even if I feel it's strange the game doesn't have one, and I like the draw phase giving you 2 cards. I would not call it clunky at all either. It's really testament to how much influence people can have over others, even if unintended. I really can't believe I've reviewed the game twice and given it reviews that it didn't deserve on both occasions. It's kind of funny, this later friend asked me if I wanted to get into Final Fantasy back when it came out. I can't remember the context, but I declined. I regret that now. I think if I'd given the game a shot with him originally, not only would have the game gotten the review it deserved, but I probably would have stuck with it. So let's talk about games I regret not playing. So let's start with a recent one, the Caster Chronicles. I didn't even try this one because of the art and theming. I'm still not sold on the level of cheesecake it has or had. It's been about a year since its last release, but I don't care too much about that now. What I do care about is the theming in a different way and the gameplay. The theming on a surface level is the anime girls of all flavours, mostly scantily clad, but I don't really care to get upset about that anymore. There is, however, a different side to it. The theming of the colour pie is the 7 deadly sins. The original starter decks were Agnes, Wrath, and Terror, Pride, with the first booster set introducing the remaining 5 sins. I think this is a really novel concept for a colour pie, and unlike a lot of games, has a very well-defined themes. On top of that, the resources, the casters, were all unique on the board, one each, actual characters, can level up and provided resources according to their level. They also have pretty major effects on gameplay. I think this is interesting, and I would have loved to have tried it out. I think it's an interesting take on the resource system. Everything else is straight up duel masters, and casters feels like an answer to Whitecross. But what it does do that's uniquely Caster Chronicles, that interests me. I think there really was something there, and had the game focused more on the theme of the colour pie and the resource system over the girls, I probably would have tried it. I wish I did. Back in ye old days, I started with Pokemon, moved to Dragon Ball Z, did some Sailor Moon, did a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh!, did a lot of Duel Masters, then finally ended up back with Pokemon till Gen 4. There was a dash of Naruto in there as well. I stopped Dragon Ball Z around the time Majin Buu came out. Babidi was the last set I invested in. Yu-Gi-Oh! Came out around that time, and I only ever bought a few starter decks for Dragon Ball GT, mostly Shadow Dragons. I regret that a lot. Retrospectively, among the 4 versions of the Score Panini Dragon Ball card game, Score Z, GT, Ray Z, and Pansy, GT is by far my favourite. I like the Panini game, I have a few videos about it. I think it was a good evolution of the Score game, a divergent evolution from GT. I just think GT was better. I think the GT game had better aesthetics with the black cards, white text, and coloured frames. They really stand out and make a lasting impact. I like how the high-tech cards were handled in the game with the backer cards. I felt they were very novel and had a ton of potential with customization. I think they were good innovation. I like the modifications to the original game, how handcrafting is in the core rule set, anger was removed, and endurance was tacked onto everything. You have to balance what you use and remove, not only to be able to use recursion effects, but level up. I won't go into more details here, but I do feel a great deal of regret that I didn't play it back then, and have passed on the chance to buy collections multiple times. Back when I used to go to Supernova conventions back in the mid-2000s, I tried out the World of Warcraft TCG. Admittedly, I only did it for free cards, but I did enjoy myself. I just didn't like the theming because I wasn't into classical fantasy at the time, but as I said, I enjoyed it. I distinctly remember enjoying it. I never went further with the game than that, and I'd completely forgotten about it till rather recently when a comment on my channel said that Force of Will takes rather a lot from it, which is true. I didn't even remember this was the first time I'd experienced dual-faced cards. I could have sworn it was Force of Will some 8 years later. So I dug out that deck. The image I'm using was the hero I got, and read through the manual. I actually prefer some aspects of WoW over FoW. I like the character card having its own life value, and more influence over deck construction as one example. I now regret not getting into World of Warcraft. This was about 2006-2007. I believe I was coming off Pokemon at the time, and I didn't stick with Naruto very long. I definitely had the time. I don't believe I even thought about going back to it. Looking at that deck now, especially the rulebook, I think I should have. I regret not doing it. It's a much better game than some of the things I tried around that time, and games I've tried since. I have dabbled in Hearthstone. I just don't care for digital TCGs. Social interaction is a big part of games to me. The final regret I want to talk about today is Magic the Gathering. Of course I play Magic now, but for a long time I didn't want to touch it because of Wizards of the Coast. I felt burned by both Pokemon and Duel Masters, preferring how Nintendo helmed Pokemon afterwards. There was also this stereotype at the time that Magic players were older, unfriendly, and hated new people coming into the game. This meme that Magic was intended for an older audience. Though, truth be told, I did only see guys old enough to be my dad playing it, which is weird when you consider I'm not that much older than Magic myself. I guess those 70s D&D kids did pick up Magic. I feel I missed a lot of the best times in Magic because of this. I just look at the things from Return to Ravnica and backwards, stuff I hear people talk about with great fondness, and I think to myself, I could have had those experiences too. Interestingly enough, had I picked up Magic when I quit Pokemon, it would have been around the time of the original Ravnica, maybe closer to Time Spiral. I feel I should have just went over and talked to the Magic players. Gave the game a shot when it was arguably in its prime. My experience with Magic players now is that in real life, especially the old guard that grew up with it, they're pretty friendly people. That's my video for today. It's a bit more self-indulgent than my usual topics, but this channel is primarily just my thoughts and feelings, something more akin to a vlog. It's not a professional show. If you've gotten to the end, thanks for sticking with me. I was going to add a Vanguard section to this video, but I think this video is long enough, so I'm going to do another video talking about Vanguard regrets. This has been Some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching.